Welcome to the podcast for real-life heroines. Let's embark on a journey that unveils the extraordinary stories of everyday women who redefine what it means to be a heroine or hero. Life is a tapestry of inspiration and magic, and today's episode is no exception. Here's your host, Susanna Liller.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me with my guest, Gail Larsen. Gail, I am so honored to have you with us on the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So good to see you again.
It's so good to see you. And I was trying to think, when was the last time? And I think it was at the conference that you gave in outside of Santa Fe. That was the last time. Do you know the year?
No.
No.
Boy,
Okay.
that was a heroine's journey in itself, wasn't
A heroines and heroes journey. Absolutely.
it?
So, well, let me begin. I really want to read your bio because it says so much about you, and it has some interesting little clues about why you are as famous and sought out as you are by speakers. So let me start there. So Fast Company described you as transforming your relationship to your voice via the deepest stirrings of your soul. So take note, people listening, Gail is very connected and gets us to connect to our souls. She takes what is often considered our greatest fear, public speaking, and helps us understand that fear is, and listen to this one, listeners, that fear is truly excitement without the breath. She delights in each person finding their own way. She is not formulaic, to speak from the truth of who they are and what they love, to open hearts, inspire change, and move people to act. So her book, which I have right here, If You Want to Change the World, Tell a Better Story, is very much about, inspiring people to act. Gail is the founder of Real Speaking and the award-winning author of Transformational Speaking. Again, if you want to change the world, tell a better story, published by Random House and Brilliance Audio. She is an SBA Small Business Person of the Year. Her original approach to communication draws from her own journey as a, get this, previously reluctant speaker, her respect for indigenous wisdom, 3+ decades in the world of speaking, and wide experience in business and association management. She is a former executive vice president of the Worldwide National Speakers Association. She was on the faculty of Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York for 10 years. In 2014, she instigated the Holy Fool's Day Extravaganza, an online event celebrating people who step outside convention to find their voices and become the radical change artists their souls are calling them to be. Gail offers transformational speaking to a global audience through her online academy and live immersions in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Gail, welcome. And again, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Interesting to hear that. Recently, last year, I cleaned my garage and I got to look at my life. It was sort of like that resume. And I ended up doing a talk called Unconventional Wisdom from a 50-year entrepreneurial journey. It was called Feast on Your Life.
Wow.
And it's like we do at a certain stage in life, not just are called forward, but look back and really understand that everything we've done prepares us for that next step.
That is so true. And I'm going to want to, and probably in a minute, ask you about your next step with such a rich background and level of experience. But just for people going, holy fools, what's that about? So how did you arrive at the words holy fools? Because you've used it even before this extravaganza. And what is that?
Well, Joseph Campbell described it as an archetype, the most dangerous person on earth, because she's not going to listen to convention or follow the rules. She's going to go inside and look at what is hers to do and do it no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think life asks us to go deep enough to look at what's ours to do, that we would, I think Rilke said, consider whether you would die if you were forbidden to say it. It's that deep in our souls. It's what we're here to do. And I think a life well lived means listening to and following that holy fool within us and expressing it in the world.
Hmm. And those of you who have been listening to me talk about the heroine's journey, it's answering that call and then jumping off the threshold into the unknown. And Gail, you and I were talking briefly before we started recording about you being in sort of a place of the unknown, and you had a few thoughts about that. Where are you now in your heroine's journey?
Well, about a year ago, I'm going to be 80 this year, and it's like, oh my gosh, how did this happen?
How did that happen? How do you look the way you look and be 80? And oh
and
my
then you back up and say, okay, what have I not yet done?
God.
And the truth is, Susanna, I have worked my butt off my whole life.
Right.
I haven't been good at team building and getting support, and I've always taken new directions. And actually, it's 25 years that transformational speaking has been generally in this form of immersions, where I met you originally.
Right.
How many years ago was that?
Okay, I looked it up. I think it was in 2009.
Yeah.
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 I
Yeah.
know. I have been to, of course, several other things that you have done. So to Rhinebeck, New York with you, and yeah, I know you have worked so hard. And because you're serving your vast population of students as we all learn to gain our voice through your wonderful processes and go out into the world.
And you know what I would say about that is, you read a resume and it's like, wow, that's a lot of success. And it took a long time. And I would say that because I knew it was my work to do in the world, it sustained me even when the money wasn't there. So I do want to say that part about the journey. We are called to unlikely things.
Mhm.
And it takes, that inner knowing combined with this trust in something that's calling that we don't see yet.
Mm.
And so I've had many jumping off cliffs in my life. And actually, when I don't, I get pushed or I
Yes,
get slammed back to earth.
right.
So, I think part of the benefit of aging is looking at that and being more willing to take the leap. Because what the heck? What have I got to lose?
Yeah.
So last year, actually, when I turned 75, I was going to step back from teaching that year and travel. And I think you've met my friend John Thompson, the Nature Code in Australia.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
was going to go for a month and be with John on the land and his Aboriginal friends. And then everything shut down.
Yeah.
And I got scared and brought a new puppy into my life that was trial and terror for several years of a condition that scared me. And it just was none of us as expected. So last year, I said, okay, if I do not step back and listen to what's calling next, well, I miss part of my life that I'm meant here to live. I
Mm.
mean, it's easy to continue with something that works pretty well. And my only inner calling was, I have to stop the old form, not bringing my gifts, but stop the old form to see what else is here.
Mm.
Because at 80, I mean, you don't know how long you got. You might have another 20 years, or you might not even make 80.
Right.
But it was like it's the first birthday that ever struck me as a big deal. because I've never felt old.
Well, that's saying something, really.
Yeah. I mean,
Those
because I'm
people out
always,
there
yeah.
worrying about being 50, just take note.
No, it just got better,
Yeah.
and I think that's what I realized in Feast on Your Life. I started the talk by saying, every day there are two plans, your plan and the mysteries plan.
Mm.
And when I look back over 50 years of an entrepreneurial journey, honestly, Susanna, I couldn't have made this stuff up.
Yeah.
But it was about following something that said, this is what's next.
Mm.
And there's been so many downtimes.
Yeah.
When I took Social Security, the guy said, I look at your history and there's like these many periods of 2 or 3 years with no income. Is that a mistake? I said, no, it's the life of an entrepreneur or perhaps a holy fool.
Yeah.
So when I stepped back, I just changed my model to apply. And when I have 6 people, which is my model, then we'll create a class. And then I get someone really exciting and I want to create a class. It happened this morning. So, okay, next class will be
Mm.
information because there's someone I really want to work with. And that seems to create the energy to call in the group. But for several years, I have been struck by the Rumi quote, speak a new language so the world may be a new world. And it's worked me. Like, what are the languages of life beyond what our minds make up that inform us in ways that allow us to take the journey with more vision, more trust, more anticipation, because it really is about the unknown.
Yes.
And it's not just a personal unknown, it's a collective unknown.
Well, Campbell would say it's creating a new mythology,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's so hard to grasp that, Gail. I mean,
We can't.
I know it's not our brains thinking it, you know.
And in the worst of times, and I've had one of my own the last few weeks, my brain says you're making this stuff up.
Mm. Right.
But I have a client who does beautiful cartoons. I have one on the wall where she's this little cartoon with a guy looking down his heart. And it says, before I commit, I'd like to check with my partner.
Mhm.
And I have another one that she said, don't doubt in the dark what you knew to be true in the light.
Yeah.
And life will slam us back to the physical reality, even as we listen to these languages and move in a new way toward a possible vision.
Mm.
So what I wanted to explore the way, so the new book will be transformational listening.
Oh, well, that's
How,
interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
And in 2 weeks, I'm going to another good friend who I met as a client. I'm going to Michigan to her farm for a week to get started because I know she'll be a good inspiration partner.
Well, I'm remembering you wrote this pretty quickly. Transformation, didn't it come together?
The hardest part of it was structuring it because I didn't want to write a book about the old stuff, how you gesture, I mean, come on. Speaking, if anything, is getting really clear about the gift that we have to bring to the world
Right.
and how we express it in our own way instead of getting all wrapped around technique and stuff. So for me, writing that book was the structure was the hardest part. It ended up being the heart of speaking, who we really are, how we go in, how we name our medicine. Then the art, which is what I call our home zone, not a comfort zone. When are we deeply connected internally? So then we can connect with an audience. And then the energetics of speaking, which really was my learning edge at the time, to really understand that nobody really cares what we say. It's an energy of what is transmitted that allows us to open to something or a new conversation that we haven't had before. And to me, that's what transformational speaking is. Something's got to change.
Yeah.
And now I sense that we need to listen in a new way. There's so much division in our speech. And, we can make an argument for our point of view, but all the studies show it just creates more existence. Okay, I'm going to get stronger in mine if you come up against it.
They're already thinking about their response,
Yeah.
not listening. Yeah.
And so, the energetics is really David Hawkins' work really inspired me on power versus force. That there is, if you look at energy on a scale of 1 to 1,000, and 1,000 is going to be your ascended masters, and anything under 200 is going to be negative emotions. So it's energy. When we're depressed, energy's down. When we're excited, energy goes up. So it's really worth studying. But what struck me about his work, 500, right in the middle, is unchanging love, but 540 is joy. And so if we can hold a vibration of joy, 90,000 people at a negative emotion will move up the scale.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to talk to people that don't get me and drag my energy down so they'll get it. I just need to develop my community and my work around people of a similar vibration, because we all bring different gifts to the equation.
Right.
And that's when we can speak to an audience and rise up together instead of leaving saying they'll never get it.
Yeah.
So, hey, stay in joy and 90,000 people move up. That's exciting.
So you introduced me to David Hawkins. And so I have both his books here, or two of his books. And that concept, think about it, all the people that are studying the templates for how to be a good speaker, and what it's about is projecting that spirit of joy from within you. That's transformational. That's transformational speaking for sure.
Yeah. And it isn't about platitudes. And I mean, sometimes in classes have read everything, and they come in with all these crazy platitudes about how life works. And I just have to say, no. And that's why I have 4 days with people to listen to what's real.
Yeah.
When they're safe, that rises up, that's so original to ourselves, so we can bring that gift out.
And your gift, because I've been recipient of it and I've seen others, is recognizing that gift in them when they might not even see it themselves.
Yeah.
And so that's amazing that you can do that, Gail.
I did a class last month, probably my only one this year, although this inquiry this morning has me intrigued. But the class last month, I just thought, wow, it just is, I trust it now. Often, because I ask for guidance. I don't think I've got it. And I also know wisdom is only generated through the questions and the conversation and the observation, not, oh, let me tell you this.
Yeah.
Because it's in life itself that wisdom can arise. And it took me so many years to trust that. Rather than think, oh, thank God I made it through another one and it worked. It's like, okay, bring it on. And I am simply a channel for what can elevate a person to really name and claim their medicine. And when we know that and stand in the power of it, we can't not bring it into the world. The world needs us.
Yes. Oh, so there have been so many people that you have gifted with your gift, and famous people that have gone on to write books and, be great in their own right. And what's the thing that they tell you that really made a difference to them? I mean, can you even put your finger?
I've worked with many people who are already famous and have written their books.
Right.
And then years later, I will hear that work changed their life. And I'm like, you know, they were amazing when I met them. You know, it's always about how we go to our next level.
Yeah.
And I said, what changed as a result of this work together? And the answer invariably has been they trust themselves. And so, holy fools, heroines, something's going to come through that is insane. It is, wears out of our minds. And often, our capacity to trust that it's here for a reason and we'll say it is what opens a new world. You and I were remembering Arundhati Roy's quote. She's an Indian activist. And she said, a new world is not only on her way. If you listen a new world is on her way. If you listen carefully, you can hear her breathing.
Mm.
And if we can hear that new world on its way within ourselves and have the courage to move beyond our own journey and look at how we are contributing to the collective at such a potent time in our history that needs our medicine and our voices. Wow, we are serving what we're here to serve. And it doesn't mean we forget our personal needs, but I think feeling that bigger calling allows us, I won't even say sacrifice, allows us to give up some of the certainty we think we have to be part of this great experiment that is life in these times.
And I don't think certainty really ever comes. You know, I think you just do have to trust it and go for it. And you're right too in pointing out there's always another level.
Yeah.
So you're never done.
But we
Right.
get comfortable.
Yes, we do.
You know, I woke up yesterday and I get big dreams every once in a while, but yesterday I got this little bit of a dream, and it was some guy speaking, and he said, I'm really comfortable, but I'm not happy. And I thought, whoa, you know, I don't even like to think of edges anymore. I like to think of sweet spots because edges sound harsh and got it. But what's this sweet spot of, yeah, enough comfort to extend ourselves in a way that really brings joy back into the equation?
And what you're telling us, I think, is you're working that out. You are in the process of this new place, this new unknown, where you'll still hopefully do your immersions for people who want to do that. But you're really, the book is going to, I'm sure, open all kinds of doors for you, different ones.
Well, you know, and it's an interesting time of life to not be concerned about who will publish it. What's this? It's like it's a soul calling rather than a strategy.
Yeah.
And less attachment to what it does. You know, because I thought I was ready to write it 2 years ago. I was going to talk to my clients who've had great stories about dreams and synchronicities and how nature speaks and, you know, all these ways we can listen to languages beyond our thought processes. And the guidance I got was just start listening, you know? So the first part of the book will be how we listen to ourselves. And then listening to this, and then listening together for what wants to drop in. So that's the experimental part, how we listen together and move beyond what we think we know to allow something new to inform us that's going to move us to higher ground.
I recognize that this is the seed you were planting when we all met at your conference in Santa Fe. That was part of the beginning conversation, I think, or what you were trying to.
That's what I tried to do. That seed got uprooted pretty quickly.
But let me ask you this, because I know that it happens to me and it happens to people that I work with. We agree that we have to trust ourselves and listen to our inner voice and learn to, you know, distinguish from our brain and our intuition But then we do get scared, and we get stopped, and that voice that you talked about that says you're making this up. How to work with that? How do you do it? How do you work with oh, come on, you're just making that up in your head.
Well, it's not easy.
No, it's not.
It's a journey in itself.
Yeah.
Of trying to calm our nervous systems when we're out of just going nuts. And maybe it's less about understanding and more about trust. And that's when it's the hardest time to trust.
Right.
But the truth is, what else is there? If yeah, we can be comfortable, but if we're not happy, what's the point? Interesting, it was a male voice that said that in my dream. So no, this masculine part of me wants to be comfortable, and maybe the feminine wants to be happy. And what's the sweet spot between those two?
And what it will be, I think, is when you can hit that joy point so that you're vibrating from there.
Yeah.
So a couple more questions.
Okay.
What would you advise a new person starting out as a speaker who, pay attention to this? If you're going to hear a lot of advice, but really, and I think this is what we've been talking about, it's going to be the same theme, but what would you say to a new speaker starting out?
Know what's yours to say and don't move into comparison and competition. You got to know your medicine and your message.
Right.
And that's it. Otherwise, you are strategizing your way to something that is not sustainable. The only thing that's sustainable is being true to our own selves and what we're here to express. We're so different, and we all bring a piece of this web of life that we could weave together. But I had a famous person in my last class who, because, ends up thinking other famous people might be better. And it was like so painful to watch and experience how it's so easy to compare with someone else instead of really getting clear about what's ours, to say, to do, to be. And, I think I'm really an odd person. I think about it, that I haven't been in a relationship with a man since menopause, but it actually freed me. I mean, I used to be so dramatic about that stuff. And it's allowed me to sink into what this lifetime is about, I think. And I think, well, that'd be pretty weird for people I don't think about it much, but I used to, because it was so ingrained, imprinted. This is how life is.
Right. Our culture.
When I grew up, it was like, that was it. Get married, have kids. I did get my husband his PhD, putting hubby through Vanderbilt. All the stuff I was supposed to do, and it wasn't where it didn't work for me.
And we wouldn't have had you if that all had
materialized as I hope. So that's what I mean. Each day there's two plans, our plan and the mysteries plan. My teacher, Angela Zarian, used to remind us of that all the time. And it's like, I so got cleaning the garage, how my plan was never what it was. So, give up the plan. If you're going to start speaking, give up the plan. Experiment, play with it, find your people. Line up like a barcode, but with the right folks, and then things can start to expand, and it's based on truth for you.
Yeah. What great advice. So let me ask you the question I ask all my guests, and then, is there a poem that you would read to us? Did you find something that, I know you have so many, and part of your gifts is being able to remember all these poems. So I'm going to ask you to do that, and I'll give you more time to think.
I think I've got it.
All right, but before you go there, and don't lose it. And I just have to, I feel compelled to just share this tidbit with you. I had to speak to not a large group, but a group yesterday. And I decided I was going to use Mary Oliver's poem, Instructions for Living a Life. Do you know it?
Mm-mm.
It's so simple, Gail, and I messed it up. And what she says, these are instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. And I got 2/3 of the way through and I couldn't remember tell about it. And oh my gosh. But anyways, I have always so admired your ability to remember poems. But before we go there, you have shared so much. People are taking this in, but they might not remember it all. If they only remember one thing, you would want them to remember what?
Know your medicine and express it fully.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about original medicine,
I
so
know,
they
which
may need to read my book or do my,
you do.
I have a
but-
$99 online course to know your
All
medicine.
right. And that's seriously something everybody needs to do. I
Mhm.
highly recommend it as a student of this wonderful teacher. So Gail, could you just help us end with your poem?
So, and I would like to say, learning poems isn't natural. When I have a poem that hits me, I learn a line a day and add the next. So a poem can take a month.
Wow.
But when you spend that much time with poetry, hopefully it's there when you need it. And oh, that just brought up another one.
Okay.
I think this one is for the heroine's journey.
Okay.
See if I can get it. Sometimes when you walk carefully through the forest, like the ones in the old stories who could cross a shimmering bed of leaves without a sound, you come to a place whose only task is to frighten you with small but impossible requests. Requests to stop what you are doing right now and to stop who you are becoming as you do them. Requests conceived out of nowhere, but in this place, beginning to lead everywhere. Requests and questions that can make or unmake a life.
Wow.
Yeah, that's David White sometimes, and I didn't get it quite right, but
He is a master. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Gail Larsen, thank you so very much for being our guest today. And the best way for people to reach you is your website, which is www.gaillarsen.
No, it's realspeaking.com.
Oh, thank you. Realspeaking.com.
My OG website of 20 years ago.
Yes. And everything is there. Your
Mhm.
how to get into your academy, your immersion courses. So people need to go there. And the best way to reach you is your email, which is gail@realspeaking.com.
Right.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, people, for listening. And I hope you tune in next month to my next guest. But savor all these words you heard today. They will help you. Thank you, Gail.
Thanks, Susanna. Journey well.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the podcast for Real Life Heroines. Your time and presence mean the world to us. If you're hungry for more inspiration and ready to craft your own heroine story, connect with Susanna outside of the show. Visit SusannaLillard.com to discover her courses and programs designed to empower you on your journey. Until next time, may your days be filled with the courage and strength of a true heroine. Stay inspired.